So we are recording, but only in our small community, so it won't go publicly. So you can talk freely here. Welcome everyone. So this is an onboarding for Manager to Leader Shift, and we do these every month just to onboard anyone new so that they know what's in here, how do I get supported, what kinds of things do I need to find and do. So I might start with just going into the portal first, and I believe Angie, you've logged on to that, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Karen, I know you've been away in Japan, as you do.
Oh, lovely.
I don't know if you have looked at the portal at all, because when you joined, we were transferring over our website to a new platform. So let me know.
Yeah, and I haven't had a chance, AJ. So this looks great.
Great, beautiful. So let me just jump in to, you're probably seeing weird stuff at the moment because I'll just log into my part. Oh, are you even seeing that? Share screen. Are you seeing that now?
Yep, we can see. I can see.
Beautiful. Yep. So I'm just in the back end, so don't mind me because otherwise it won't show it properly. Make sure I get in the right bit. My dogs want to play with balls and toys now in the background, Angie. So if yours is listening. So this is kind of what you should see when you jump into the program. You should have a login to be able to get into that. If you don't, email support@UQ Power and we can set you back up with a new login, but you usually get that right in the beginning. If you go to the actual website, you can see at the top of my website, there's a login button there. So when you click on that, that will take you in, but you should have received a direct link to kind of get in and you'll log in. And what you'll see is a welcome. So there's a video here, and when you click on the welcome, that's probably the best place to start. It tells you some things to do. Join the Facebook group, which I know both of you are in, a little bit of pre-work stuff. There's also a journal if you wish to journal. And as much as people go, I don't have time for that, I actually find it's really powerful. And it's only yesterday I found, because I'm creating a new office in my old yoga room up the back for myself so that I can get my stuff out of my house and work separate. And I found an old journal of mine. And where I'd worked actually with a coach at some stage, I think it was 2007. And so I was reading through some of that. It's so cool to read through some of your old goals. Oh, no worries, Karen. That's all good. I know she was on the ward in the hospital. It was a bit challenging.
Yes,
yeah. So, yeah, it's really great to sometimes read back and notice what sorts of things you set up in your goals and those sorts of things. So that's all in there. You can see that the journal is just like a printed one that you just go to and you can click through. And I suggest to fill in pages 1 and 2 to get started. What else is really useful is then before you dive into all the curriculum, so you'll see the curriculum is broken into 3 main headings with topics underneath. One's confidence, one's competence, and one's credibility. And they're the kind of 3 pillars that make up really successful leaders who put themselves forward and have the confidence to do what they need to do in their career and to not shy away from it. And I find lots of women in government are really stepping up, but also still undersell themselves. I mean, I worked with a woman yesterday who's been an acting director 4 times in an agency, and still she applied for a directorship and didn't get it again. And when she's going to interview, she's still talking like a manager, not a director, even though she's been acting in those roles. She still positions herself as the doer. And it's in some ways it's how people are perceiving her. So they're using her for like 3 and 6 months at a time to be in directorship roles. So they know she's good at what she does and she gets results. But when it comes to getting those permanent positions, they're hiring in external people because they're not seeing her as that directorship permanent material. And yeah, so some of this is about working on how do you build that credibility with others? How do you get the competence of the skills that are more of that strategic kind of skills? And then how do you build the confidence so that you can speak about it without sounding like you're up yourself, but actually just owning what you're good at and knowing that. And even yesterday, I was working with a manager that's now in quite a senior role up near the Byron Bay Shire, up near there. And he has been in the role, or he's been in the organisation there 15 years. And just in the last 6 months has been promoted, or he's up to, I think he was up to 100 days he'd been in the role as a more senior leader in charge of several big crews that are across several sites around the state. And he still said, I know what I keep doing wrong. I'm not asking or using the strengths of my team. I'm actually getting in and doing shit for them all the time. So he's still wiping their bums and seeing himself that way. And part of it, he was saying to me, great guy, Rob, he was saying, I don't want them to think the job's gone to my head. And I was once their peer and their mate, and now I'm being this wanker bossing everyone around. So a lot of it is about just what are those subtle things to become more of a coach leader? How do I work one-on-one? In our discussion yesterday, he realized that each of the different regions are all in a different time frame when it comes to a change management program that he has to roll out. And so he's trying to just blanket get everyone to do the same thing, but they're all in a different mindset and they've all embraced it at different stages. So we talked a lot about his role as a director is to float above and to go, oh, I'm going to have to dip into Wagga a bit more. They need some more support, or yeah. So just that kind of discernment. And then down the bottom are all these program extras. So these are all just extras, nice to go tos if you get time. Each month we spotlight some leaders. So we interview different leaders who are all over. Some are in government sector, some are private. So you can scroll through and read topics and things and watch some of those. And they're on specific topics very similar to what we work on in the program. So they're really interesting, usually 20 to 40 minutes kind of. And you can, everything in here is in written form, in audio and in visual, because I know that we're all different learners and sometimes we have time to sit and watch a video and other times we're in the car and we think, I'll just put the audio on and listen to it. So there's versions of that. Monthly coaching calls. So each month you get a group call where we can coach on any topic. Everyone has different schedules and meetings and those things. So sometimes we have 4 people on and sometimes we have 1. So it's just the benefit of whenever you jump in, what kind of coaching you get. 1 month we had about 12. So it just depends. So they're available and you get an email at the beginning. So you should have got that, Angie. Did you get an email that told you?
Yeah, sure did. Yeah.
Right. Yep. And if not, if you get stuck, there's a calendar and Marissa can resend that. And then that's the link to the Facebook group.
Yeah.
These calls, the monthly coaching calls, will also have these calls where we go through the program in case you go, I've forgotten something and I want to go back. But if I just jump into one of the topics, you'll see you get your main video here. So that's where you just watch curriculum and they vary, and you get to see all my different hairstyles because they've been recorded over a number of months.
And nails. I like seeing the nail colours too.
Oh, do you? Do you see nails? Oh, that's funny. I've never noticed. So yeah, you'll see different video up here that will be main curriculum topic. The worksheets are all here and actually Marissa is upgrading those at the moment. So this is one of the newer ones that have a cover and everything. Before they were just a Word doc, but she's going through and upgrading them all. But basically you can either follow them on here or print them out. And they're just some reflective questions. So they're all set up with something to learn. So something to be aware of, watch in yourself, observe. a challenge, something to have a go at. So this is where you might want to stretch, grow, try something. So these are kind of a challenge to kind of stretch you and get you thinking differently. And then at the end, there is always extra videos to watch, things that you can watch, things to listen to. If you want to listen to some topics around this topic, there'll be always a different kind of interview. And they're not all my things. You can see there's Brene Brown. There are all sorts of different great resources that I've come over across in my time. Read is books, or it could be just an article, those sorts of things. And then, of course, share the stuff in the Facebook group with the rest of the group if you wish, about what you're learning as you go. You'll find it's a bit different if you've been in other sort of workshops where everyone's traveling along at the same pace, doing the same topics, because in this you dive in and out to the topics that you need at the time. So it won't be like everyone's doing the same thing in week one. And it is very self-paced. So you might go, I'm going to download a worksheet and I'm going to work on that for the whole next month. Or it might be, I'm going to knock that over in a week and start another topic next week. And then, oh, it's school holidays, so I won't touch it for a month and then I'll get back in. So that's completely fine. You can work through it however you wish. And then in the monthly coaching group, you can just bring up whatever topic you're working on or whatever's going on at work that you're working through. So these are the audios if you want the audios. So you've got the written, the audio, and video. And then there's always a bonus video each month about that topic. Like this one, I think is only, 11 minutes. So there's always a different little video clip that might be a bonus about that topic. That's just a kind of more a prompter, reflector. When you've actually done, say, that module, you can click on here to complete and to continue, and it'll take you to the next module, or you can go back to home, which I don't think I can do because I'm in the back end. But when you kind of go back to home, it will then start to show up where you're up to. So you'll get a bar across the top that'll show you where you're up to in the content, how much you've completed. So here you can see that module, so you're 8% complete. So you can watch your progress there if that is something that's important to you. Oh, there's the other person.
I've jumped in and had a look.
Yeah.
It was appealing because I could do it at self-paced. There was things I could take away, do it, whenever I could fit it in, or felt like I needed to dive in. And love the idea of the monthly coaching calls as well.
And they're great. Like last month, I actually had someone who had 2 staff members that were clashing. And so we talked a lot about how she could manage that and what she could, because she had done quite a bit. And she thought it was all good for a while. And it's 2 women. And then they started again. And she'd actually had one person raise her voice in the office quite a bit at the other one. And the other one was refusing to be in any meetings with her, and, like all of those human challenges we get. And so we ended up working through that quite a bit. So that's where the monthly group can be great to work through stuff. Yeah.
That sounds great.
So I'm glad you've had a dive in and had a little look.
It's very easy to use.
Oh, good. So what I wanted to do now is have a little opportunity to do a little audit, which you can keep coming back to. And so this is kind of the audit sheet, and I'll make sure it's also uploaded for you to grab as well.
Yeah, it is. It's there. I've got that.
Oh, you've got that? Great. Yep. And so this works alongside the actual map of what the curriculum works on. So I'll just reshare with this. So this is how the curriculum's based on the actual roadmap. And so it works through what are the base skills you need for being more of a supervisor, what are some of the skills you need more when you start moving up to manager, senior leaders have a little bit more, and then exec leaders. So the program itself is based around these kind of bottom ones, and that's self-paced learning. And when we do this audit, it basically then tells you which curriculum you should focus on, if that makes sense. So let's go back to here. So have you got that in front of you, Angie?
Yeah, I sure do.
Yeah.
Yes, I've got yes, I sure
Great.
do.
So I don't know if you've had a chance to fill this in, but what we do on this call is actually fill it in together and have a look. Yep.
I did it mentally last
Oh,
night.
good. Yeah, cool. Cool. That's good. Yeah. So that's what we kind of walk through. So let's go through that now. And if you can score yourself just on a piece of paper or whatever, whether you think you're red, amber, green. So obviously red is no, I don't have that skill yet, you know, and I don't feel confident with it. Amber is, yeah, I've got it, but it's like some of the time and I could do with a little bit of polishing. And then green is, yeah, I feel really comfortable with that. Like there's always room for improvement, but you know, I'm across that. I feel really good.
Yeah.
So let's start with number one in the confidence section. So IG1, I know my career success is up to me and I'm prepared to make it happen. So just score yourself. What would you say you are, red, amber, or green?
I'd say green in that one.
Mm-hmm. Great. And then IG2, I know my personal strengths and how to best leverage them.
I would say green. Let's go orange. Let's go orange.
Great.
Because I wobble.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. And maybe you have certain strengths that helped you here. And then when you go into a new role, you go, oh, I need some other things now.
Yeah, where it is. And
yeah, tell me about the wobble.
I feel like I'm there. I know my value. I know my strengths. But I think it's using my voice when it's outside of my area of expertise. So when I'm working at that direct level and the senior leadership level, it's like, well, I have to have an opinion. I have to provide feedback on areas where others or the other directors or the SME, so I don't speak up. It's like, well, I have tried to coach myself. You have a unique perspective and you can add value, you can ask questions, which helps as part of your learning. Speak up. So that's where I wobble, I think, and have to put in tangible kind of strategies. So I encourage and enable myself to speak up. And one way that I do that is to prepare. So I'll review something at this time and write down, I need to think and prepare my thoughts and responses. That gives me then the confidence to speak up. So that's where I wobble. Right. Fantastic. And that's great. And I think preparedness is key. And there are a lot of people who just blow in, blow out of meetings and are never prepared. So that's awesome. And I think it shows your professionalism and level of commitment. It's also really great though, isn't it, if you can do stuff off the cuff a bit, because you're not always prepared. The question comes up and you're like, damn, I didn't read that or see that. And that's where I'm wobbly too. I might have off the cuff thoughts, but then I go, oh, that's probably really stupid. And everyone else in the room knows more than I do. So I'll let them share their views and they're more valid. And so that's where
then someone else says it and you think, God, I thought that 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So I was working last week in Port Macquarie with some people from Essential Energy, and there was a woman in the room there who was 52 years old and said exactly that. And she said, do you know, I've been in senior leadership for a decade. And she said, I still doubt myself and don't speak up in meetings. And she was like, this is a real issue. I need to address it, because she felt like it was holding back her contribution. She's leading a massive change program all around moving to a lot of solar stuff. And and so she was like, it's massive. It affects the whole business. And here I am just from my little department going out trying to make this happen. And so one of the things we talked about with her was having her little question card. So I used to do that when I was a manager earlier on. Was I had a little question card that I just carried with me and kept in my folder or whatever, that just had some questions on it. So even if I thought something and I wanted to speak up, but I was like not sure if it was, I'd ask a question. And at least I felt comfortable asking a question rather than making a comment or saying my opinion in the beginning. And so she was going to try that out and have a little question card. And I always just say, don't ask why questions, because people get defensive. You know, if you go, why do you think that? Why do you do that? They're like, but if you ask what, how, or who, or when, oh, what else do you think could work here? Who have we seen do this before? How else could that work? When's the deadline for that again? You know, that kind of thing. If you open with any of those basic questions, then it can kind of give you opportunity to get some airplay, because sometimes in some exec teams too, when there's other egos and that, they don't give you space for airplay. So, you know, you can get by a little bit by asking a question.
Yeah.
So I love that you're kind of doing that already, but she just said she was going to try it, because what I said was having the question card prompted me to speak up a bit, and meant that even if I felt a bit like, oh, will I, won't I, you know, and that little voice is talking, that I would just go, just ask a question. I've got one pre-prepared.
Yeah. No, that's a good tip. Yeah. Because in freight and freight transport is quite technical. Like there's a lot of technical elements to it. So that's and then I have conversations with my own section and outside of the branch, and then I hear myself talking technically, and I thought, I do know.
Like, I know shit.
I know stuff. Like I'm hearing myself go, oh, I do.
Yeah.
Why am I confident here but not in there? So
it's the environment, right? And so it's building up our memory and muscle to be able to lean in and speak up at those things. And you'll know if you start becoming an oxygen thief. There are people who speak up all the time and everyone's like, but I always go, what am I paid for? And when I'm an executive or a leader, I am paid to problem solve, to think, to be strategic, to question. I'm not paid to be Pollyanna, everything's sweet, let everything go by. It's the same if I'm on a board of directors. I am on a board of directors for a reason, for governance, you know, for direction, for querying things and making sure something's in the best interest of the company. And so when we're not speaking up, we're actually not fulfilling our role, really. Because a big part of our role is to help that direction. And otherwise things can roll on. And then later you go, I thought that at the time, but I didn't ask. So yeah, great. So yeah, I would say orange, amber, a little bit of work.
Yeah,
cool. Number 3, I've got a healthy sense of my own worth and the value I bring to the table.
Oh, let's go amber, because absolutely green, in mostly green, but then there's that bit where I wobble.
Yeah. So only in the wobbly areas.
Yeah,
cool. Competence. So SG1, I use a simple framework for delivering feedback regularly to my team members.
Right. I suppose I do. Would I consider it a framework? Probably I would.
You have an approach or a method?
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Okay, good.
And I use compassion and curiosity to give feedback. So
nice.
If there's something that's not hitting the mark,
yeah,
or hasn't been delivered on time, I will ask questions before I go in and give that feedback and correct it, to understand, well, where are they coming from? What was their perspective? Because I don't necessarily think my answer is the best answer.
Yeah.
So just start asking those questions, or what else is happening?
Great. If they have the tools, are they?
Yeah, create a conversation out of it. But then I've got another guy in the team where he's just like, he likes to know where he stands and he just wants the feedback. He just wants it straight. So I'm like, okay.
Give it to me. Give it to me.
Yeah, well, it's just red pen. He just likes the red pen. It's like, yep. He's an older guy. He's in his 60s, and so he just appreciates that. So approach it differently for every person because every person takes
right.
it.
They're all a bit different. And my motto, and in the modules or curriculum around this, there's an actual process for giving feedback if you need one, but it sounds like what you're doing is working. And I like that you're adapting it for individuals. My personal preference is just that clear is kind. So in any feedback, clarity is actually kind. Yeah. So I love compassion and curiosity. That's lovely. Yeah. I can't imagine you being any other way.
Well, it's funny. The older guy on my team is like, "You're too soft." I'm like, "Well, why?" Because he's telling me stories about how he's worked in government for a long time, like different agencies. "Oh, I've had people yell at me because I didn't deliver or I did something." I said, "Well, there's no reason for that. There's under any circumstance, no matter what they've done or haven't done, there's
no need to get knickers in a knot
for that." Because you have to understand where they're coming from or what's happened or what hasn't happened, and have some compassion to understand.
And I think one of the things that happens a lot in workplaces is when that kind of behavior comes up is if you imagine a continuum, and at one end of the continuum is being a parent, which I know you're great at, right? But the other end of the continuum is being a child. And quite often that's where workplaces get hooked up, is where they're in the parent-child loop. So that's when someone yells at someone because they're treating their employee like a child. And then the children I'm taking my bat and ball and going outside, or, I'm going to sook in the corner. I'm not going to reply to your emails. I'm going to white at you over here or whatever. So we don't want to play parent-child. We want to come in the middle where there's adult space. And like your approach is adult. And that he's just saying he hasn't had much adult behavior modeled for him. So it's great that it's you. Yeah. All right. Next one is I have a simple and effective way to measure productivity and make improvements. So how do you know things are working?
Yes. It's I've got multifaceted ways to do that. Fortunate enough, there's a team within our section that is program management, and they've developed this amazing tool to forecast and assess capacity and resources, because we've always just done it intuitively, but there's numbers to it. So we've got that, but then there's all sorts of ways. We have quick stand-ups. We have a call strategy and play days. So we have them mostly after we go through cycles, peak periods. So after, when I bring the team together, they feel a lot really energized because we're statewide and we don't get to see each other in person. So I call them strategy and play days. So it's a day just to come together and go, what do we want to focus on as a team? What can we do better? How can we make our lives easier? How can we deliver better outcomes? The team loves that, and we have identified and implemented some really great improvements, some quite simple but sophisticated, some some really simple, but it's made a massive change. And then there's also what do we call it? A brains trust kind of moment in our team meetings, where we're talking about how can we make things easier for ourselves, how can we improve process, and how can we get to the outcome that we want to.
Love it. So that's where everyone just pitches in and shares their ideas, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Good. So it sounds like you're across that, and that's awesome. The forecast tool sounds amazing.
It's magic. It is absolutely magic.
Yeah, because it's so hard, isn't it, without tangible numbers on a lot of things, and trying to, I think we need this, or
well, that's exactly right, because we were the whole branch was over programming, and everyone was suffering. The whole branch was suffering. So it's like, well, we need to protect our team. What can we do to better, instead of doing it intuitively, let's do it with some
Logically
knowledge
and
and
practically.
evidence base. Yeah.
And it's really challenging and demoralizing too if you're over programming in a way and then not meeting goals, because then the team start going, why
That's
are we
what was happening. Yeah,
achieving?
exactly what was
Yeah.
happening.
And it was a bit similar, that team I was saying I was working with last week at Essential Energy. They were saying they're still catching up after the last lot of bushfires and floods up north, that it put their normal maintenance schedule so far behind because they had all this emergency work that they feel like they haven't got anywhere in their project plan because their project plan had all this standard work that wasn't getting done. Yeah. Cool. All right. I'm conscious of your time as well. So next one, I focus 80% of my time on activities that are high value, high impact.
I would say green now, and that's quite recent that it's green.
Yeah, great.
Yes. I was thinking I was being a good leader because the whole branch was over programming, and I think it felt like the whole of transport really. And there was a lot of expectation that we had to deliver, like there was lots of priority projects. I saw, but if everything's a priority, nothing is a priority.
Exactly.
We wasn't saying no. And to protect the team from burnout, I would do the work. So I was absolutely exhausted all the time, working ridiculous hours. I'm like, I can't. And then I knew it wasn't quite right, but I'm like, oh no, I'm doing it for the team. I'm taking one for the team, so the saying goes. But then one of the team said to me, because I had an opportunity to step into my role, I can't do what you do. I couldn't do what you do.
Right.
You're amazing. You have amazing bandwidth capacity. And I'm thinking, well, I don't. I just work a bloody lot.
I'm just working hard.
Yeah. And I thought, that's a big shadow that I'm casting about what it takes to be a senior manager.
Yeah.
Or a director. So I thought that's not the example I want to set. It is achievable for people. So I've just saying no more actually.
Right. Yeah. And then modeling, what does healthy look like? Like healthy looks like saying no to certain things, or yes, and this needs to go.
Yeah. I thought I was good at time management until that period. And then I went, it's not time management that I need, it's value management. What's most value that where can we, make the
biggest
dial
difference.
tick a bit more than in other areas.
Yeah, it's value management, and it's also energy management, isn't it? It's being aware of your own energy and what am I putting out? And quite often we're spinning our wheels doing administrative stuff that we're like, really, do I need to do that right now? Yeah. Yep. Cool. All right. Last three, because we'll only just start up here for now. G1, I develop my team so they can get results without needing me.
I would say, well, let's go amber. Because in parts, yes, but there's two in the team that need extra support.
Okay, cool.
I need to give myself time to reflect. What am I doing or what am I not doing? Or is it a bit of me? And as well, there's a bit of mindset in them as well. So I need to go. I haven't given myself time to reflect on that, and I think there is room for improvement there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's great awareness. And it's bit by bit, right? You can't change it all overnight.
Yeah. But that there are some others that that I would say that it's in the green, and they've given me feedback. That I've helped them to get the confidence to get promotions, and they have been promoted or acting to higher positions, and without that they wouldn't have had that confidence. So green in some areas, but there's some.
It's a greenish orange.
It is that. It's like
halfway.
A weird color.
My team trust my leadership and those they work with to do their best.
I would say green there.
Great. Yeah. So there's a good team culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And last one, my peers are consistently engaged and connected with me. So
I'd say green.
Green?
Yeah. Part of my strength is building relationships.
Relationships.
Connection.
Great. Awesome. So we won't go to the next level yet because we had some ambers. So let's have a look. We had a couple of ambers in the confidence and then one then in the credibility. So it really just comes down to you going, which of those do I feel I want to tackle first?
Probably the confidence area.
Yeah. Cool. So that would be,
I'm working in the director role, so for the foreseeable future. So I think that's probably the most important area. And I think I'm largely green in that other area to develop a team. It's just a couple of challenging, more high needs people.
Yeah, which we always end up getting, right?
Yeah.
So when we look at the confidence one, it is then a little bit around the personal strengths. So there's a whole module around that. There's a lot around self-worth, and some of that can often come up, and also taking ownership. So I would say just dive into that part and just work on that confidence part first before the monthly call.
Yep.
Go and have a look, download some of that curriculum, listen, read. There'll be resources and things there. And just journal or take note of any of the things that come up for you so that we can talk about them in the monthly.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Sound good?
Right, yes. So good to see you.
It's great to see you and to hear you as well. It makes all the difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, yes, it does.
And it feels like no time has passed.
No. And I love that.
As soon as I hear your voice, I just remember meditation with the girls. Like that's what I go, oh. Yeah, and they're so grown up, my goodness.
Yeah. I have, it's a bit surreal.